You were not supposed to know this much bad news before breakfast. Before your feet touch the floor, you can learn that a war has entered a new phase. A child has gone missing. A city is flooding. A stranger has been humiliated. A celebrity has collapsed. A politician has lied. And somewhere, someone has filmed the last seconds of another person's life. All of it arrives in your hand. For most of human history, this would have been impossible. 300,000 years, your brain learned to scan the world for danger. But the world it scanned was small. A sound in the grass, a face at the edge of the firelight, a change in the weather, a sick child, a rival group moving near the river. Now that same ancient system wakes up inside a glowing rectangle, and it is asked to monitor the entire planet. Right now, if you scroll long enough, you can find more human suffering in 10 minutes than your ancestors may have seen in years. The strange part is that your body does not always know the difference between a threat you can act on and a threat you can only watch. That is where the problem begins. In 2001, psychologists Roy Baumeister, Ellen Bratzlaufsky, Katrin Finkenauer, and Kathleen Vose published a paper with a simple title, Bad is Stronger Than Good. They were describing something most people already feel without naming it. Bad events grip us harder. Bad feedback stays longer. Bad information pulls the eye faster than good information. This is not because humans are broken. It is because in the old world, missing one piece of bad news could cost you your life. If you ignored ripe fruit, you went hungry for a day. If you ignored a snake, a hostile stranger, or the smell of smoke, you might not get another day. The brain learned a brutal rule. Good things can wait. Danger cannot. So when your thumb moves across a feed and a headline flashes with fear, scandal, rage, or death, some older part of you leans forward. It does not ask whether the event is near. It does not ask whether you can help. It does not ask whether the information will make your morning better. It asks one question. Is this a threat? And the feed answers again and again. Yes, but here's the part nobody talks about. Your ancestors had bad news. They had grief, violence, illness, storms, hunger, betrayal, and death. This wasn't paradise. It was a world where the body was always negotiating with risk. But their bad news had edges. It came from people they knew, places they could walk to, dangers that existed inside a shared map. If something terrible happened, the group gathered. They buried the dead. They moved camp. They watched the sky. They changed the route. They told the story around a fire until it became memory, warning, or ritual. Information usually came with action. Now information comes alone. A famine on another continent, a murder in another city, a collapsing economy, a burning forest, a stranger's private breakdown. You receive the signal, but not the tools. You feel the alarm, but there is nowhere to run. You feel the grief, but there's no body to bury. You feel the anger, but there's no village meeting where your voice changes the outcome. So the nervous system does what it can. It stays alert. It keeps scrolling. Not because you're lazy, not because you love misery, not because you lack discipline. This wasn't curiosity. It was threat detection. And once the machine discovers that threat holds your attention, it has every reason to keep showing you more. In 2006, designer Ozza Raskin created the infinite scroll, a feature that removed the need to click to the next page. It made the internet feel smooth, continuous, almost effortless. But psychologically, it changed something important. There was no natural stopping point, no last page, no moment where the world said, enough. For an animal brain, this is a strange environment. In nature, searching usually ends. You find the berry bush, you reach the water, you lose the trail, the sun goes down, the body gets tired, the group calls you back. The feed does not call you back. It keeps producing the next thing. And because the next thing might be important, you check. Then you check again. Then you check after. The checking has stopped feeling good. What ran out was not information. What ran out was closure. George Gerbner, a communications researcher who began studying TV in the 1960s, described something he called mean world syndrome. His work suggested that heavy exposure to violent media could make people believe the world was more dangerous than it really was. This was before smartphones, before push notifications, before the feed learned your habits and rearranged reality around your attention. Gerbner was studying a world where people sat in front of a television set, a fixed box, in a fixed room, at fixed hours. Now the screen travels with you, it waits beside your bed, it follows you into the bathroom, it sits on the table while you eat, it glows in your pocket while you walk under trees, past real people through a real afternoon. And it whispers that somewhere something is wrong. That is not an accident. Modern feed is built from fragments that compete for your nervous system. A headline has to beat another headline. A video has to hold you before the next video takes you. A post has to become sharper, sadder, stranger, more enraging, or more intimate than the post before it. Calm does not travel as well as panic. Ordinary goodness is harder to compress into a notification. A quiet neighbor helping another neighbor does not always look urgent. A family eating dinner in peace does not demand your attention. A child getting better after a fever rarely becomes breaking news. But a threat does. A threat has shape. A threat has speed. A threat says, look now, and your ancient brain obeys. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar famously proposed that the human brain has a practical limit for stable social relationships, often simplified to around 150 people. The exact number is debated, but the idea matters. Human social attention was never infinite. You were built to care deeply, but not endlessly. In a small group, another person's pain carried context. You knew their name, you knew their mother, you knew whether they were reckless, unlucky, brave, or afraid. Their crisis entered a network of obligation. Online, you encounter the pain of strangers without the web that once held it. A grieving face appears for 5 seconds, then a joke, then a war, then an advertisement, then someone dancing, then a man crying in a car, then a recipe, then a body under rubble, then a product you might like. The brain was not designed for this kind of moral switching. It tries to care. Then it tries to detach. Then it feels guilty for detaching. Then it scrolls again, searching for the next signal that explains why it feels so uneasy. What most people miss is that the newsfeed does not only show you the world. It trains you into a posture toward the world. Bent neck, held breath, half attention, waiting for the next bad thing. Over time, the body may begin to live as if danger is always near, even when the room is quiet. The coffee is warm. The door is locked. Someone you love is sleeping safely nearby. The threat is not here, but the signal is. And to the nervous system, signals matter. This is why you can close the app and still feel disturbed. Nothing happened to you exactly. You were not attacked. You did not lose your home. You did not witness the event with your own eyes. But your body was asked to rehearse danger again and again. There is an older intelligence inside that rehearsal. It once helped humans survive. If a member of the group saw tracks near the camp, everyone needed to know. If someone ate a poisonous plant, the story had to spread. If a distant scream came from the dark, the body had to prepare before the mind understood. Fear was not a flaw. Fear was a messenger. But modern life has separated the messenger from the moment. Now the scream can come from anywhere. It can be replayed, clipped, captioned, monetized, recommended, and delivered to millions of people who can do nothing but feel the echo of it. And the echo is profitable. The answer is simpler than you'd think. Your ancestors never had a news feed because they never needed one. Their world already gave them the information their bodies could use. News came through footsteps, smoke, weather, faces, stories, and silence. It arrived at human speed. The body could meet it, the group could hold it, the mind could sleep after it. We live with something different. We live with the device that can turn the planet into a village, but without the duties, boundaries, or rituals that made a village survivable. We know more than any generation before us, but much of what we know arrives stripped of proportion. A rare danger can feel common, a distant danger can feel near. A stranger's emergency can feel like your own unfinished task. And by morning, before you have spoken to anyone in your house, you may already feel as if the world has ended 3 times. But it hasn't. The room is still here. The floor is under your feet. There may be a glass of water beside you, a window, a patch of light, a real person in the next room. A small life asking to be lived at the scale your nervous system understands. This does not mean looking away from the world. It means remembering that attention is not the same as care. A person can care about suffering without drinking from an endless stream of it. A person can be informed without turning their body into a warning system for every tragedy on Earth. A person can choose when to look, how long to look, and what kind of action should follow. Because the oldest part of you is still listening. It still thinks bad news is a footprint near the fire. It still thinks the tribe needs to wake up. It still thinks every alarm belongs to you. And maybe that is the quiet tragedy of the modern feed. It did not create human fear. It found something ancient, useful, and tender inside us, then stretched it across a world too large to hold. You were not supposed to know this much bad news before breakfast. You were supposed to know where the danger was, who needed help, and when it was finally safe to sleep.